Every time we talk about Barry Sanders versus Emmitt Smith and who is the better running back, a lot of people are going to say it's Barry Sanders. Why? Because Barry Sanders was so exciting to watch and made big plays out of crap because his offensive line was terrible, while Emmitt Smith had the greatest offensive line of all time. Let me tell you something. That offensive line in Dallas swapped out year after year, while Barry Sanders' line stayed the same. But more importantly than that, I want to talk about why everybody makes it seem like Barry Sanders played with scrubs throughout his career. I'm going to debunk all of that and bring up some things that you might not remember coming up in this episode of the Sports Minute. So let's get it popping. Let's start in 1995 when the Lions were ranked top 2 overall in offensive yards, points scored, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. Brett Perryman, Herman Moore, Johnny Morton. Come on now, Moore had 1,686 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, and 10 games with 100 yards or more, while Perryman had 1,488 yards and 9 touchdowns. From 1990 and 1999, the Detroit Lions made the playoffs 6 times throughout that decade. Lomas Brown was consistent as a Pro Bowler. I mean, he was playing in the Pro Bowl damn near every year as an offensive tackle, and Jason Hanson was one of the best kickers in the league. Leaving David Sloan, the year they didn't go to the playoffs in 99, David Sloan dealt with hella injuries, and he still finished with almost 600 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. Kevin Glover was an all-pro. So let's stop all this nonsense like Barry Sanders played with scrubs compared to Emmitt Smith. He did not. The 1995 Lions, and I'm going to keep reverting back to them because that was one of their best teams, they were actually the original greatest show on turf before the St. Louis Rams, now the LA Rams again, but the St. Louis Rams at that time, they were known as the Detroit Lions were known as the greatest show on turf before the LA Rams. And the Rams had Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Kurt Warner as their quarterback. We all know what they did. The only thing that separates the Detroit Lions from a lot of those great NFL teams is that they didn't win a Super Bowl. They just didn't win a Super Bowl. I believe they lost to Philly in the divisional round, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody might have to Google that for me, but they lost in the divisional round. I know that for a fact. I believe they lost to Philly. I understand Emmitt Smith had one of the greatest offenses in football history that he played in. That offensive line, he didn't have to be flashy. He didn't have to be. As wide as them holes open, he was running through everything, and he was a physical runner. He wasn't going to try to juke you. He was going to run you down. He had defensive backs ready to just throw in the towel by the fourth quarter because they were so tired from trying to tackle him. Barry Sanders just found a way. And he didn't even have to find a way because he had 3 great receivers. And that offensive line was nowhere near as bad as what people want to make it out to be. So let's stop acting like Barry Sanders. I'm talking about people that say that. I'm not talking about everybody. But this is for people who say that, who make it seem as if Barry Sanders just had absolutely nothing. It's not true. Now, I admit his run game may have opened up some things, but that still doesn't negate the fact that people say that he played with scrubs. He didn't play with scrubs at all. That was actually probably one of the best Lion teams in their franchise history, and one of the best runs in their franchise history. 6 times in 10 years, the Detroit Lions made the playoffs. But let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me about it, please. Continue to hit like and hit subscribe. I'm Rico McGee. This has been the Sports Minute, and as always, we'll see you in a minute.